Now, I'm going to try and do something I've never done before. I'm going to try to interview many people in one take, and no editing. So I'm at the World Cup launch, and I'm with Greece captain Jordan Meads. What do you make of this morning's event? We're at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Yeah, what a phenomenal spectacle, and it's great to have everyone in a centralised location before all the fun kicks off here. So yeah, phenomenal event, well hosted, and can't wait for what's to come.
You went up on stage and you were interviewed and you spoke really well. Did you think much about what you were going to say?
Oh, I had a little bit of time to think, actually, and the nerves hit a little bit, but it's all good. Life's good, and enjoyed being up there with everyone.
And, from the point of view of Greece, rugby league's now legal in Greece. I guess people don't really have their heads around how much cut through you're getting at home. What indications have you been getting that people in Greece are sort of taking notice and following you?
Yeah, it's super early days for us, so we're really excited for what the Rugby League World Cup's going to do to springboard rugby league in our nation. So, for us, it's time for kind of the victory mentality to go, and we're really excited to see rugby league grow in one of the proudest nations in the world.
And finally, you've got some big teams in your group. Everyone's asking you about how you approach those matches mentally. Is there a secret? Is there something, or you just play what's in front of you?
Yeah, we're actually incredibly grateful. If you ask any captain here, they'll tell you that the teams they want to play are the biggest teams in the world. So for us to be up against two of the top four most fancy teams in the competition is something we wouldn't have any other way. So we can't wait for the challenge.
Jordan, we'll see you during the next 5 weeks.
Cheers, thank you.
Good on you, mate. And that worked. I paused it and I started again. And I've got Romeo and Monteith, the coach of Jamaica here. You must be super excited to see all these people and all your, opponents and colleagues in the international game. What's your emotions here today?
Yeah, it's good to be here. We've been waiting for a long time. We qualified way back in 2018. So to finally see the week has started. I'm very happy about that. It's good to see all the various nations. Everyone is looking ready to go, sounding ready to go. So it's going to be an exciting next couple of weeks. And let's hope that we have a great tournament, a great World Cup, and continue to grow the international game.
Tell us about your warm-up game. It was very un-Jamaican conditions up there, I'd imagine. Yeah, they played Cumbria.
Yeah, it was good being up in Cumbria. Very welcoming people. Lots of hospitality up there. It was windy and a bit rainy just before the game. The rain, we're not unaccustomed to rain, but the coldness of the breeze, certainly for the domestic players and myself, would have been something new. It was a good game, a good contest, especially that first half. The way we started, I thought we started the way we trained. The boys were hitting all the objectives that we wanted them to do. Once we started to make some changes, I think we kind of were unable to match the intensity of that first 20, and we came out in the second half, turned over the ball. Cumbria scored shortly after, and that was the game. What I was pleased about is the fact that the boys, they kept plugging at it, they kept trying, and even though they were not able to pull the score back, I did like the effort that I saw. We had the 5 domestic players playing in that game, so that was a good experience for them. And well done to Cumbria. They were in their hometown in front of 3,500 or 4,000 people. They pulled off the victory. So a good experience.
Now we're standing about a metre from Jason Taumalolo, and in 1995 when Tonga played in their first World Cup, they had players who didn't get picked by New Zealand, didn't get picked by Australia. And now, all these years later, their players are actually turning down those countries, tier 1 countries, and they're choosing to play for Tonga. Is that a position that you see Jamaica getting to in the future? Is that because you had some players who could have gone either way and they chose the tier 1 countries? Do you think in time that they'll make a different choice?
I think that's an interesting question. I think it's always down to the individual, to be honest. Down to the individual, his wants, his or her wants, needs, philosophies. What is it that motivates them? What is it that turns them over? I don't think there's any one way to answer a question like that, because at the end of the day, a lot depends on the opportunity for some people. A lot depends on what you have achieved for others. I mean, I've had players who they have achieved at a high level of the game. They have played Super League, they have played for other countries, they've played in the World Cup, and they said they wanted to play for Jamaica. So I don't think it's black and white. I think each situation is going to be specific to that individual. I think on a whole, if you look at the Jamaican team now and where we were a few months ago before a lot of injuries, I mean, we were looking at potentially having 5 or 6 full-time players, including a number of guys from Super League like Lewis Johnson and Lloyd White, these guys who got injured, Jordan Turner. So definitely, I think our job as Jamaica is to, even though we're an amateur organization with all volunteers and no full-time staff, right? Our job is to create an environment around the national team that full professional players or semi-professional players will be comfortable coming into that space. And that's what we've been building for a long time, for over 10 years, but we've really improved on it in the last few years, bringing someone like Alex Simmons on board, who has managed to, get a lot of corporate companies on board to help us out. Age Partnership and those guys, and Smile Fast, Reggae Sauce, Twisted. So that has made playing for us easier for the players. They don't have to go in their pockets and pay for everything. They don't have to get, very little pieces of kit. They can feel comfortable. And I think once we can maintain that, it comes down to the individual, what his goals are, what he needs for himself or herself to choose between Jamaica, or maybe choose between Jamaica and England, or even Australia. Because maybe, soon there'll be some Jamaicans down in Australia playing NRL. Some more, I don't know.
You know something we don't?
Well, Jamaicans, we're all over the place, we're all over the place. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years' time someone pops up that he's Jamaican heritage or she's Jamaican heritage. So definitely we just need to continue to create those conditions and give the players that opportunity to say, if I do choose to play for Jamaica, I know I'll be looked after, I know I'll be in a professional environment, and I'll get the type of coaching and organisation that is needed to perform at a high level.
Look forward to seeing you during the tournament, Romeo. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Definitely, thanks. Take care, Steve.
Okay, it's worked again. I hit resume, and I've got Matt Parish here, coach of Samoa. How are you, Matt?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Welcome to the UK.
Yeah.
Mate, your team has got a very new look about it, very different to the one that played in the mid-season test. As a coach, does that mean you don't overload them with stuff, or do you want them to stick with, do you want them to be very structured so that they're not unpredictable, or do you just throw them the footy and let them do what they want?
You throw them the footy and put a few little guidelines in place and let them play. Look, I've got a wonderfully talented squad. I understand that, but they still need a little bit of guidance here and there. We all need to be on the same page. So just about building connection, building continuity, and let them go from there.
There was a good story by Brad Walter about how they're inspired by what Tonga did at the last tournament. Is that a sort of a bit of a keynote in the group to do what they did?
Obviously, what Tonga have done is really well, but these guys are Samoan. They're up for writing their own story.
And mate, with so little time with the group, what about the pre-match ritual and stuff? Have you got that down pat? Does that need a bit of late practice?
No, they all get into that, and we practice very hard for that, the boys. And we've got a cultural leader there in Freddie Tuolangi who does a marvellous job with that. And I'm sure that they'll play with the same passion and pride that they put into that performance.
And what sort of expectations? Everyone here wants to talk about Saturday. As a coach, what are the key things that you want out of the game? Is it just a result, or is a result not so important because the group's so new?
Look, I just want us to play well, and then if we can play anywhere near our ability, I know that we can compete against anyone. But I've got no doubt whatever we do this Saturday night, we'll build on the following week and the one after that, because obviously we haven't had a lot of time together as a group, but we certainly had a lot of quality, and it was very impressive, our first session this morning, and we've got 2 more to build from that before England on Saturday night.
We'll see you in Newcastle.
Looking forward to it.
I've got Jed Corcoran here now, the coach of Ireland, and I guess we look around the room, Jed, and we see Tonga, Samoa, and countries where guys have turned down the opportunity to play for Tier 1 nations, to play for their country of heritage. And you've got players in your squad this year, who could have made Tier 1 country teams, like Luke Keary and Richie Myler. And I know you're trying to recreate that thing that they've got in the Pacific, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. And rightly so. When you speak to the boys and you feel, not only when they speak how patriotic they are, but the love that they have of their upbringing in a traditional Irish household. And they speak so proud, and that's infectious and it's contagious. And straight away, as soon as they talk like that, it grabs me with both hands.
Yeah. Now, you told me, I clued you up before we started recording. You told me something on the phone. It was a private conversation, and you also said it to the boys. And I asked you if I could ask you while I'm recording, and you said I could. And it was when I say call to arms, we're not in any way downplaying. War is much more serious than sport. But you wanted to find a way to sum up the commitment the boys feel to Ireland, and if you can tell in your own words, what you said to the boys about.
I was speaking about obviously my affiliation with my country and how much I love my country. Again, I'm not condoning the differential between sport and war, but I basically told the boys on Friday when we were doing a little exercise together is that if Ireland was in the same position as Ukraine and we were invaded by any other country, I'd be over there on the boat straight away. I'll be on the plane first thing, and I'll be fighting at the front line for my country. That's what it means to me, and that's what I want the boys to feel. And straight away, as soon as I said it, they were nearly ripping off the tables and chairs in the room.
Yeah. And that means you've got like 110% buy-in, haven't you? And they're going to be super passionate. Are you worried that you didn't play a warm-up game?
I know I've got not only 110% buy-in, I've got 1,000% buy-in. Again, this hasn't just happened overnight. Speaking with Luke and George and the players, I've spoke to them all individually. I've left a lot of players out purposely because I don't think they fit this culture, and my expression is the shoe's got to fit both feet and not just one. It's a two-way road and not a one-way street. Again, I have no qualms with the boys. When these boys put the green jersey on, if they're already training the way they are, when they put the green jersey on, they're going to leave blood, sweat and tears on that field.
And you want guys who are available all the time, not just for World Cups, right?
100%. And again, I outlined that in initial engagements, is that if they're not fit to play, then they still come over and they participate within, being around it, giving a sense of helping these younger kids or different players of heritage that chance to excel and embrace that Irish culture.
I would say this to you, probably not recording, but I'll say it while we're recording. IMG announced the other day that Magic Weekend is gone for clubs, but the mid-season international is staying. So doesn't that mean that we should have international Magic in the mid-season, that the Northern Hemisphere clubs should play on that weekend, not just England and France?
It would be lovely, wouldn't it? And again, going back to your point, the reason why I didn't have a warm-up game was because some of the players have played 30-odd games in this year.
Yeah.
So again, it didn't make sense to. When we were talking about performance, we wanted to keep the boys as fresh as possible on the back end of the year so we get the best results on the back end. But no, most definitely, I think with this new vision that they've got for the sport, I'd love to see a Celtic competition or a Celtic Isle and maybe a Celtic star team that would play and go up against England on a mid-year international. That's something I spoke to the International Federation about, the RFL, the European Federation, and I think if we could select from all three Celtic Isles, I think it'd be a fantastic vision to see and something greatly to sell.
It's nice talking to you, Jed, and we look forward to seeing you over the next 5 weeks.
100%. We're ready to go. We're prepped, we're well stocked, and the boys can't wait to pull that jersey on. Thank you.
Good on you, mate. I think this might be our final interview, and so far it's worked. I've just paused and no editing. So I've got Stanley Tepend here, the coach of PNG. Welcome to the Northern Hemisphere. How much the Prime Minister's 13 game, was that a big help to you, or it's a completely different squad, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a help in the sense that we wanted to give some of the boys that were not playing finals a hit out. But they're a totally different team. But we a couple of players that we wanted to have a look at that were in the fringes, help them in that sense. But yeah, it was good to have that hit out. But we're just glad that we're here with a really good team.
What positions in your team have you got that give you the most headaches? The positions that are hardest to select?
Well, probably I'd say not a headache, but I think we've been really fortunate to have strike power out in the edges. Like we've got Justin Olam and Nene McDonald, and Xavier Coates, got Reese and the second row of the year in the Queensland Cup. Nixon put in the centre, so we've in the second row. So we've had really fortunate to have all those stars playing for PNG, and I think it's probably one of the best teams that I've been involved with for a long time.
I was at the awards dinner the other night when Edwin Apape won the Championship Player of the Year. Is he, to you, a bit of a shock weapon off the bench, or is he pushing for a starting spot, or what are your thoughts on him?
We've still got a few days to decide whether he starts or not, but he's really come in leaps and bounds. I think we're really grateful that he's playing like that. It's a boost for us. So whether we start with him and look to start the game strong against Tonga, or use him when the big Tongans are a bit tired off the bench, we'll work that out in the next couple of days. But now he's been in really good form, and we're just happy that he's with us.
The French team has 20. I think we heard Ben Garcia say at the launch, every player's full-time for the first time ever. You're lucky to have the Hunters, aren't you? And if you were to get an NRL team, I mean, that would be incredible, because you can't rely on heritage players, can you? And you never have. You've always had a lot of first generation players.
Yeah, we have in the past. I think we're a bit similar to the French. Nearly all the players are full-time professionals. We've probably got the most number of NRL players that we've had for a long time, Super League players, and obviously Edwin Nene and Lachlan Lamb from Lee. And they're playing regularly. We haven't had that in the Kumals for a very long time. Players playing at a higher level, and the Hunters having the players playing the Hunters at that level regularly too. So, look, we're really happy with the squad we have, and that's a really big boost for us.
What's a successful World Cup for PNG?
Getting into the semi-finals and really pushing for that final spot.
Right, fantastic. It's lovely to meet you for the first time, Stanley, and I look forward to seeing you in the next 5 weeks.
Thank you for having us.
I think we're going to finish up with Jesse Bromwich, the captain of the favourites, New Zealand. What do you make of all this? You've done a million interviews today. How is the English media different to the Aussie and Kiwi media, and how would you sum up the evening?
It's been pretty hectic, pretty full on. I've done a lot of these sorts of days in my time, but I think just the volume of reporters and different sorts of people here, and even just at different stations. I don't think I've seen as many stations. So hopefully rugby league's growing over here. It looks like it's the biggest sport in the country, with the setup we've got here. So it's really growing over here, I think. I really look forward to the competition. If this is the start, I think it's going to be a very busy sort of competition.
We'll finish the show here, and people listening, looking forward to the World Cup. Tell them, what should they be looking out for? What if you were at home watching instead of here, what would be exciting you most?
I think it's going to be the most competitive World Cup that I can recall. If I look at, there's probably five or six different teams that can actually genuinely win it. You've got Samoa, Tonga that are just going to be super physical this World Cup. You've got England who've been playing really good for the last however long. Then you have us in Australia that are very genuine. So I think if you're looking for a very competitive World Cup, this is going to be the one.
Thanks for your time, Jesse. Enjoy the next 5 weeks, eh?
Yeah, we'll do all good.